The WNBA has been buzzing with drama, roster moves, and shifting power dynamics, and one of the biggest names caught in the storm is none other than Sheryl Swoopes. A legendary figure in women's basketball, Swoopes has made headlines for reasons beyond the court. Once celebrated as the first woman to sign with the WNBA, she now finds herself embroiled in controversy, facing allegations of mistreatment as a college coach. Meanwhile, in the professional ranks, the Indiana Fever have just flipped the script on free agency, making historic moves that have reshaped their franchise and sent shockwaves through the league. Sheryl Swoopes, a three-time WNBA MVP and Hall of Famer, has long been a respected figure in women's basketball. However, her tenure as head coach at Loyola University took a sharp downturn when multiple players alleged mistreatment under her leadership. Reports surfaced that the majority of her roster had chosen to transfer, signaling deep issues within the program. What followed was an investigation into her coaching practices, ultimately leading to her dismissal. This was more than just a coaching change, it was a decisive move that reflected the shifting expectations in women's sports. Player empowerment has become a dominant theme in modern basketball, and the days when a coach's authority went unquestioned are fading. Athletes now have a platform to speak out, and in Swoopes' case, their voices carried enough weight to lead to her removal. But the timing of this development has sparked speculation. Some believe Swoopes' vocal criticisms of the Indiana Fever and the hype surrounding Caitlin Clark played a role in how her situation unfolded. Before her own troubles surfaced, Swoopes confidently predicted that top-tier talent would avoid Indiana. She suggested that no major free agents would want to sign with the Fever, casting doubt on the team's ability to build a contender. That prediction aged poorly. Fast forward to today, and the Indiana Fever have pulled off what can only be described as a franchise-altering offseason. They didn't just sign players, they executed one of the most strategic and aggressive free agency runs in WNBA history. The Fever have positioned themselves as a serious contender, proving that Indiana is, in fact, a destination for elite talent. One of the biggest moves was landing Brianna Turner, a versatile forward known for her defensive prowess and ability to impact games on both ends of the floor. The addition of Turner was a statement, but it was just the beginning. Indiana didn't stop at one big signing, they built a powerhouse. First, they secured Natasha Howard, a three-time WNBA champion and one of the most dominant defenders in the league. Howard isn't just a good player, she's a defensive game-changer, capable of shutting down opponents across multiple positions. Her championship experience brings a winning mentality to a team eager to make noise in the postseason. Then came DeWanna Bonner, a six-time WNBA All-Star and one of the most dangerous scorers in the game. Bonner's ability to create her own shot, stretch the floor, and rise to the occasion in clutch moments makes her a critical addition. Her leadership and playoff experience will be invaluable as the Fever aim to take the next step. Not to be overlooked, Indiana also brought in Sophie Cunningham, a fiery competitor known for her ability to hit from deep and play with relentless energy. Cunningham's toughness, defensive hustle, and confidence add an edge to the Fever's roster, something every championship team needs. With these moves, Indiana has done more than improve their roster, they've shifted the balance of power in the league. This isn't just a team trying to be competitive, this is a team positioning itself to win now. The Fever have made it clear that they aren't here to wait for the future. They're ready to compete, ready to push for the playoffs, and ready to prove their critics wrong. For a franchise that has struggled in recent years, this offseason has been a complete transformation. Meanwhile, Swoopes, who once dismissed the Fever's chances, has been notably quiet. After confidently declaring that Indiana wouldn't attract top talent, she now finds herself on the outside looking in. One of Indiana's smartest moves was bringing in Sydney Coulson, a veteran guard whose impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. Coulson brings championship DNA, leadership, and an invaluable locker room presence. Her experience and steady influence make her the kind of player every successful team needs. She may not be the flashiest name on the roster, but she's the type of player who helps shape a winning culture. Coulson understands what it takes to compete at the highest level, and her ability to unify a team behind the scenes is just as important as her contributions on the floor. Let's make one thing clear. This wasn't just about signing good players. The Fever executed a calculated and aggressive strategy, targeting players who bring both skill and experience. They didn't just add names, they added proven winners. For months, the same tired narrative dominated WNBA discussions. Indiana Fever wasn't an appealing destination. The franchise was written off, dismissed as a team that couldn't compete for top free agents. But that take has aged like expired milk. The Fever didn't just sign a couple of decent players. They assembled one of the most dangerous rosters in the league. Howard, Bonner, Cunningham, Coulson. These are playoff-tested veterans who could have gone anywhere, but they chose Indiana. That fact alone shatters every false assumption about the franchise. The same critics who once laughed at the idea of Indiana building a contender are now scrambling to adjust their narratives. What changed? The answer is simple: culture. The moment Caitlin Clark stepped into the WNBA, everything shifted for Indiana. Clark isn't just another highly touted rookie, she's a generational talent. The kind of player who doesn't just elevate her team but reshapes the entire landscape of the league. If you're loving this breakdown so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because Caitlin Clark's takeover is just getting started, and you don't want to miss a second of it. Indiana, a team that had struggled to gain relevance in recent years, suddenly became the most talked about squad in the WNBA. And that attention isn't just about hype, it's about substance. Players around the league aren't just hearing about Clark's absurd shooting range or flashy assists. They're hearing about her leadership, her work ethic, and her ability to make those around her better. Sophie Cunningham, one of Indiana's newest additions, didn't dance around the truth. Caitlin Clark was a factor in her decision. When players see a rising superstar with the potential to change the game, they want to be part of that movement. They want to play alongside someone who commands attention, raises expectations, and refuses to settle for mediocrity. Clark has become a magnet, drawing talent to a franchise that was once overlooked. Swoopes' words were rooted in the belief that Indiana couldn't change its reputation. She underestimated the power of a franchise willing to make aggressive moves. She overlooked the effect a generational talent like Clark could have on team dynamics. She miscalculated the hunger of players looking for a new challenge, a fresh culture, and an opportunity to compete at the highest level. Clark wasted no time proving her doubters wrong. She's leading the league in assists, putting up 40-point performances like it's routine, and shifting the entire balance of power in the WNBA. Indiana Fever, once seen as a bottom-tier franchise, is suddenly one of the most dangerous teams in the league, and Clark is the driving force behind that transformation. Her impact isn't just on the stat sheet, it's everywhere. She's torching defenses, creating opportunities for teammates, and forcing every team in the league to adjust to her game. The Fever aren't just improving, they're evolving into a real contender, and Clark's arrival is the reason why. Clark has brought a new wave of energy to the WNBA, drawing in casual fans and longtime supporters alike. She's proving that the league isn't just filled with elite talent, it's filled with stories, rivalries, and must-see moments. The Fever went from being ignored to being the center of the basketball universe, and Clark is the reason why. Before she became one of the most electrifying players in WNBA history, Sheryl Swoopes was a sensation at the college level. She led Texas Tech to the 1993 NCAA title, putting up a record-setting 47 points in the championship game. If anyone should understand the power of a transcendent talent making the jump from college to the pros, it's Swoopes. Yet, she didn't see this coming. Swoopes was vocal in her skepticism, believing Clark would have to struggle before she could thrive. Instead, Clark walked into the league and took it by storm. She didn't just prove she belonged, she immediately became the face of the franchise and the biggest reason why Indiana has become a destination for top-tier talent. If Indiana was dangerous last season, they're downright scary heading into next year. Their projected starting five is a perfect blend of youth, experience, shooting, defense, and leadership. At the heart of it all is Clark, the elite playmaker, the scoring machine with unlimited range. Beside her in the backcourt is Kelsey Mitchell, a lights-out shooter who can heat up in an instant. Together they form one of the most lethal backcourt duos in the league. This lineup has it all: shooting, defense, leadership, championship DNA. The rest of the league better take notice. Indiana isn't coming to compete, they're coming to take over. Then came the most telling moment of all. When Indiana faced off against Dallas, a game filled with storylines, hype and intensity, Swoopes was nowhere to be found. Instead, she was at a Houston Astros game, throwing out the first pitch and avoiding the conversation entirely. Clark's dominance isn't just about basketball, it's about power. The WNBA has always had an unspoken hierarchy. Rookies are expected to earn their stripes, slowly working their way up before they're anointed as superstars. Veterans run the show, controlling the narrative and deciding who gets the spotlight. Clark? She ignored all of that. She didn't wait her turn. She didn't ask for approval. She walked into the league with the confidence of a champion, played like she belonged from day one, and took the respect others thought she had to wait for. That kind of disruption doesn't sit well with some veterans who spent years grinding for recognition, only to watch Clark become the face of the league in a matter of months. It's not that WNBA vets hate Clark's game, they hate that she skipped the line, and when you combine that with the way she's shifting attention, money and power in the league, it's no surprise that some players are struggling to embrace this new reality. Clark isn't just making Indiana a contender, she's changing the business of the WNBA. Viewership is skyrocketing, ticket sales are breaking records, Fever games feel like major events, and Clark's presence alone has shifted how people perceive women's basketball. And yet, there's resistance. Some still refuse to acknowledge what she's doing for the game. As one commentator pointed out, WNBA veterans shouldn't be mad at Clark, they should be thanking her. The league is getting private charter flights, bigger TV deals, and unprecedented visibility, all thanks to the wave of attention Clark is bringing. If anything, Clark isn't taking away from veterans, she's giving them more than ever before. MVP talk might feel premature for a rookie, but let's be real, Clark is already playing at an elite level. She's leading the league in assists, putting up monster scoring performances, and elevating the Fever from a struggling franchise to a legitimate threat. The truth is, the WNBA isn't operating under the same rules that governed the past. The league is evolving, and Clark is the face of that change. Whether the old guard likes it or not, she's here, she's winning, and she's forcing the league to move forward in ways it never has before. Indiana Fever was once a team no one wanted to play for. Now it's a destination. The same analysts who dismissed the franchise are scrambling to rewrite their narratives. Clark isn't just reshaping Indiana, she's reshaping the entire WNBA. The question isn't whether she belongs, it's whether the league is ready for what's coming next. Because if Clark keeps doing what she's doing, the WNBA's future just arrived a lot sooner than expected. What do you think? Did Indiana just secure their spot as the next WNBA dynasty? Are we looking at the new face of the league? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a take. Caitlin Clark is just getting started, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.